Are you truly our child? My dad questioned, scrutinizing my report card. Growing up in a family of doctors, I always felt that following the same path was expected of me. As a result, I studied diligently, always ranking at the top of my class. Yet, for my dad, a doctor himself, my efforts were never enough. It only counts if you're the best in the nation, he often said, a phrase that gradually made me loathe the idea of becoming a doctor. My name is Isa. My parents, like most of my relatives, are doctors, and they assumed my older sister Anna and I would naturally follow suit. Anna, 5 years older and the family favorite, fulfilled their expectations flawlessly. Everything she did was celebrated, even the smallest achievements, and she always received what she wanted. It made me envious, especially because no matter how hard I worked, I was constantly compared to her and told I wasn't good enough. What she could achieve with ease at her age, I was expected to match despite the years between us. Over time, it felt like my parents stopped caring about me altogether. When Anna was stressed, she often took it out on me, sometimes verbally abusing me or even raising a hand in anger. I never told anyone. I knew my parents wouldn't believe me. While attending a college preparatory school, I secretly decided that I wouldn't pursue higher education. Years of feeling inadequate and enduring Anna's outbursts had worn me down. I saved money from part-time jobs, planning my escape. Once I graduated from high school, I found a live-in position at a hotel in a tourist area, and they welcomed me. Since I was still a minor, my parents needed to sign a consent form. They did so without a word, seemingly relieved to see me. The failure, leave. I hadn't contacted my family in over 6 months, and they hadn't reached out either. But as the new year approached, I unexpectedly received a call from my dad. Come home for the New Year celebration, he commanded. The relatives are gathering, and you'll be the host. He hung up before I could respond. Every New Year's, our relatives gather for a feast, and for me, it's always a painful ordeal. As most of them are doctors, the gathering always leaves me feeling inadequate. I end up doing all the odd jobs, cleaning, preparing food and drinks, setting up baths, and arranging sleeping areas. My mom barks instructions, and Anna, of course, does nothing to help. I always wondered why it had to be me, but guilt over not pursuing medicine kept me compliant. This time, though, I considered skipping it altogether. Yet, with Dad's call, I reluctantly agreed to go for just one day, planning to leave early, using work as an excuse. When I arrived, my dad immediately barked at me. You're late, why didn't you come yesterday? Everyone's arriving soon. I'm swamped at work this time of year, I tried to explain, and it was hard to get even one day off. Stop making excuses and get ready, he snapped, ignoring my explanation. Inside the house, my mom greeted me coldly, and I immediately set to work, cleaning, cooking, and serving drinks as instructed. Once the relatives arrived, I stayed on the periphery, which was more comfortable. The conversations revolved around complaints about hospitals or gossip about patients, always negative. I couldn't understand how doctors, who were supposed to heal and care, could speak so harshly. Anna, on the other hand, reveled in the conversations, gossiping and belittling others. As I served drinks, a relative named Camille approached me with a smirk. So, Isa, couldn't cut it as a doctor, huh? His words disgusted me. I wanted to shout that I had chosen not to pursue that path, that I didn't want to become someone who thrived on belittling others, but I knew it would be pointless, so I swallowed my frustration. Later that night, I fled my parents' house. Despite their complaints about who would manage the chores the next day, I didn't care. I have to work early tomorrow, I said, leaving with just the clothes I had on and boarding the bus back to the hotel. That was my only contact with my family for the year. Each new year, I thought, not again. Yet, I always took a day off, made the obligatory visit, and left. It felt like a small price to pay in return for their financial support in my high school years. 7 years passed, and I was now 25. Despite the dread, the yearly visit remained a ritual. When my phone rang this time, I expected it to be Dad. Instead, I saw a name I never anticipated, Anna. Hesitantly, I answered. I rarely ever got calls from Anna, so when her name appeared on my phone, I answered with a mix of fear and worry, thinking something might have happened to our parents. But to my surprise, Anna's voice was cheerful and full of excitement. Hey, Isa, you know the young CEO from your hotel? He's been on TV a lot lately, right? She gushed, Anna's upbeat tone was unsettling, and I couldn't help but feel wary. Yeah, I replied hesitantly, he's been opening some new hotels, so he's had more media exposure lately. Anna's excitement only grew. Introduce me to him. I saw him on TV the other day and fell in love. Plus, he's wealthy, isn't he? I think we'd make the perfect match, she declared, her self-assuredness taking me aback. I was stunned. Of all reasons for Anna to call me, it had to be this. The idea of gentle, considerate Jack with someone like Anna, who enjoyed looking down on others, seemed absurd. While I was still speechless, Anna kept talking. Oh, wait, she added mockingly, you're just a lowly worker. There's no way you're close to the CEO. Maybe you've never even spoken to him, and even if you had, there's no way a plain girl like you would leave any impression. I clenched my teeth, but Anna's momentum was relentless. She continued without giving me a chance to speak. Anyway, figure out when he'll visit your hotel again. I'll stay over that day. Once he sees me in person, he won't be able to resist my charm. Make sure to reserve a room for me, and of course, you'll cover the costs since I'm doing you such a huge favor, she demanded. I could hardly believe what I was hearing. Finally, I managed to ask, but Anna, aren't you already attending arranged marriage meetings? Isn't it a family expectation to marry before 30? Anna scoffed. Oh, please, those meetings are a joke. Just the other day, they introduced me to some 35-year-old man. Do you know how disappointing that was? So, even the men at her arranged meetings weren't good enough for her, but just because she was dissatisfied didn't mean I had to introduce her to Jack. Frustrated, I told her it was impossible and ended the call. A month later, I went home for the usual New Year's gathering. My plan was to endure the day, entertain the relatives, and leave quickly, but this year, the scrutiny was more intense than ever. You work at a hotel, right? ISA, Camille sneered. It's surprising you can keep up with such a lowly job. Mom chimed in. It's true, ISA. We're amazed that you're satisfied with something so insignificant compared to our line of work. Dad joined in as well. I'm relieved you left home early. At least I don't have to endure the neighbors gossiping about you. I forced a smile. I'm sorry I've been such an embarrassment, I said, but hearing their disdain all at once hurt more than I expected. Anna wasn't finished. Laughing, she said, honestly, ISA, you're hopeless. You'll be alone forever, won't you? What's your plan for that? Her words snapped something inside me. And what about you, Anna? I shot back. You're 30 now, 5 years older than me. If you keep rejecting everyone who isn't perfect, you'll be left behind. The room fell silent. Dad's face darkened with rage. How dare you speak to Anna like that? Apologize now. I sighed, exasperated. My parents had always defended Anna, no matter what. They treated her like their only treasure, and I wished they'd just be a family of 3 and leave me out of it. Dad's anger only flared higher when he saw my indifference. How ungrateful can you be? He shouted. Do you have any idea how much we've sacrificed for you? Mom nodded in agreement, and my relatives murmured their disapproval. It was clear that the entire room shared the sentiment. Tired and disillusioned, I turned to Dad. You're right, I said, my voice steady. I am a disappointment, and I won't bother coming back after this year. I grabbed my belongings and headed to the door. Thank you for everything, I said, slipping on my shoes. Just as I opened the door, the sound of a car engine roared outside. A sleek, luxury car was parked at the curb. The noise drew my parents and Anna out of the house. A man stepped out of the driver's seat. Anna was the first to recognize him. Wait, President, she gasped. It was Jack, the CEO of my company, the same man she had wanted me to introduce her to. Jack approached with a warm smile. Anna's eyes widened. ISA, is he here for? I couldn't suppress my laughter. Sorry to keep you waiting, I said to Jack. Jack smiled back. I figured it was time to come pick you up, he replied. The shock on my parents' and Anna's faces was priceless. Behind them, I saw the stunned expressions of my relatives. Even Dad was speechless, his eyes locked on Jack in disbelief. I rarely receive calls from Anna, so when my phone buzzed with her name, a pang of fear gripped me. My first thought was that something terrible had happened to my parents, but to my surprise, Anna sounded elated. Hey, have you seen that young CEO at your workplace? The one who's been on TV a lot, she chirped, her voice brimming with excitement. This enthusiasm was entirely new and, frankly, unsettling. He's had more media exposure recently since he opened a few new hotels, I replied, still trying to make sense of her unusually cheerful demeanor. Anna's excitement only grew. Introduce me to him. I saw him on TV the other day, and I'm smitten. Isn't he some wealthy young heir? He'd be perfect for me. Her audacity left me momentarily speechless. Was this really why she called? And what did she mean by suit me? I couldn't imagine gentle Jack with someone like Anna, who always looked down on others. As I struggled to respond, Anna kept going. Oh, wait, you're just an insignificant employee, right? You probably haven't even spoken to the CEO. Even if you had, a plain woman like you wouldn't have left any impression on him, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. Despite my silence, she rambled on, satisfied with her own remarks. I tried to interject, but she steamrolled over my words. Anyway, when's he coming to your workplace next? I'll stay over that day. If I meet him, he'll fall for me instantly. Obviously, you'll have to cover my lodging expenses since I'm going out of my way, she demanded, her entitlement grating on me. I finally found my voice. But aren't you already attending arranged marriage meetings? In our family, it was tradition to marry by 30, so arranged meetings were the norm. I was sure Anna had been going to those, but her request baffled me. Ugh, those? The last guy was 35. Do you know how depressing that was? She complained. So, she even looked down on her arranged suitors. Still, there was no way I'd introduce her to Jack. Telling her it was impossible, I hung up. A month later, I made the customary New Year's Day visit home, intending to endure the usual rounds of criticism and leave quickly. But this year, my relatives seemed more vicious than ever. You work in a hotel, right? That's such a low-end job, Camille sneered, echoed by my mom. We're amazed you can stick with work that's beneath us, she said, smugly. Even my dad piled on. I'm glad you left early. It saved us from neighborhood gossip about your disgraceful career. I bit back my hurt. I'm sorry for being such a disappointment. The sting of their words was familiar, but hearing it all at once was crushing. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, Anna, smirking, added, "You're so unremarkable, you'll probably stay single forever." What then? Her cruelty snapped me out of my sadness, sparking a resolve I'd buried long ago. Anna, aren't you 30? You're 5 years older than me. If you keep setting such high standards, you'll be the one left behind, I retorted. My dad exploded. How dare you say that about Anna? Apologize now. He had always sided with Anna, their precious favorite. Frustrated, I sighed and ignored his rage, which only made him angrier. Do you realize who raised you? Mom joined in, and the chorus of judgment from my relatives echoed through the room. Overwhelmed, I decided I'd had enough. I'm done, I announced, picking up my belongings. I won't be coming back after this year. As I stepped toward the door, a sleek car pulled up outside. My parents and Anna, curious, followed me out. A man stepped out of the driver's seat, and Anna's eyes widened. You, President? She stammered. It was Jack, the CEO Anna had been so eager to meet. He walked toward me, and I smiled. Sorry to keep you waiting, Jack, I said. Jack smiled warmly. I thought it was time, so I came to pick you up. The sight of us together left everyone frozen in shock. My dad and Anna gaped at Jack, their disbelief evident. Taking a deep breath, I turned to them. Meet Jack, my fiancé. We're getting married next month. The gasps behind me, from Anna and my parents, were oddly satisfying. But don't expect an invitation, I added with a laugh. I have no reason to return here or keep ties with this family. Jack, who knew all about my strained relationship with my family, had supported me through it. I'd explained everything to him, and he had wanted to accompany me today. He opened the passenger door for me, and without sparing another glance at my stunned relatives, I climbed in. The hotel Jack and I had been working on soon opened with great success. On the first day, we were bustling with activity when my parents and Anna showed up, demanding rooms. We came to see what kind of work you do. Get us a room now, my dad insisted, entitled as ever. Exhausted from managing the opening day, I was about to respond when Jack intervened, handling the situation calmly. Security soon escorted my family out. Their behavior became talk around town, especially at the hospital where my dad and Anna worked. A nurse, Brooke, who had always disliked their arrogance, found it hilarious and gleefully spread the story. Rumors about their misconduct had already hurt the hospital's reputation, and my family's new scandal only made things worse. Financial troubles forced the hospital to close, and they eventually had to sell their home. I heard Anna's matchmaking prospects also dried up as gossip spread. Meanwhile, I blocked all contact from them and focused on my future with Jack. As our wedding day drew near, I felt genuinely happy, finally free from a toxic past. I looked forward to a new life filled with love, respect, and boundless opportunities.